Anyway, my name is Donnie Dinch, CEO and co-founder of a company called Bitski. We have been focused on building wallets since about 2018, with really this idea that it should be easy for anyone to own things. You shouldn't have to be an expert in private key management or any of these levels of security. That said, that's a pretty hard thing to accomplish. For us, the way that we've thought about NFTs and the way that we've thought about crypto in general is that less about technology, and I think they were just talking about it on stage, but more about the outcomes that it enables. And so for us, we see the wallet as being the common denominator for everything. Like everybody's gonna have a wallet without a doubt. To date, kind of the experiences that we've had so far in Web3 have really guided the way that we've been able to interact with NFTs. We started with something very primitive, just this idea that I could buy a JPEG. I think the first one that I purchased was a CryptoKitty. And it was actually a pretty cool concept to be, hey, I'm gonna buy this digital good, I'm gonna sell this digital good. And all of a sudden you realize like the hundreds of dollars that you've been spending on banana outfits in Fortnite that you can't sell feels kind of illegal and ridiculous. And so in order for us to get to that point, though, we still need to have the technology and the tools and services to power Web3 to really move into a better direction. Again, the most important thing that I think we have to stay focused on are the outcomes of why you're doing this. Why do I own this thing? What does it provide access to? What community am I a member of now? And I think the other part of that is increasing accessibility. And so, I mean, and I think that is absolutely going to be huge. Because I think one core tenet for me is that I'd imagine that wallets will have the same level of penetration across the internet and users as email does in the next 10 years. It's something that everyone's gonna have to have. It's an absolute essential component of, I think, moving forward, being able to actually interact with the internet. When everyone asks sort of what is Web3, I think it's just the internet plus this new primitive called ownership. And so to the extent that we can maximize that and maximize the outcomes and user experiences from that, it puts us in a good opportunity to I think, dramatically change the way people use, digital goods. One thing that's a bit of a misnomer, and I think that everyone here has probably set up a MetaMask, everyone's had the opportunity to basically just bang their head until they figure out how to get it to work, and then you get, to an expert level, and that's fine. I think there's been a lot of, I think, misconception in the space that things are okay and that the wallets are fine because we have so many people using it, because we have these millions of dollars of volume of PFPs and other generative projects. What's really interesting about that, though, is that if you think about software and you think about when people, the incentive structure of why people are doing things, the juice has to be worth the squeeze. And so what we saw during 2021, the PFP craze, is that influencers online, everyone was, pumping these NFTs to the point where people thought I could make money. And so with that, they went ahead and learned these really ridiculous things. They watched YouTube videos on how to set up a MetaMask, and they probably still messed up along the way. But the reality is the outcome of making money was that potential was so high that it was worth going through whatever those exercises may need to be in order to actually execute this. We also saw this with the advent of Wall Street bets and everyone options trading. There was tons of YouTube videos on training people like half-ass how to trade options. So anyway, wallets today, I think, for the most part, have done a really good job of getting us, not across the chasm, but getting us to the brink of like, okay, I can start to understand what it is that we're doing with these new digital goods, and I can take them to different places, but I still don't have the ability to proliferate these everywhere because of the limitations at the wallet level. Moving forward, I think wallets are gonna have to do a lot to abstract the complexity of the security, of the safety, of just interacting with any amount of Web3 property. Right now, most of the places that you use a wallet are dApps. They're very specifically built to leverage some new Web3 experience. It seems quite obvious to me, and I imagine a lot of people in this room, that blockchain and NFTs aren't the end game. They're a medium and they're a platform for unlocking these new experiences. It's very likely that these things will be integrated into traditional Web 2 products. I should be able to connect my wallet to Fortnite. I should be able to connect, my wallet to my Amazon account or whatever it may be, and that shouldn't have to take wallet connect. That shouldn't have to, for me to be an expert, I should have to, I can't have things be harder than they've already been on the internet because we have a new technology. And so for us, that's really what Bitski's been focused on. How do we create the wallet experience that serves the existing market today, but also does a good job of really raising the ceiling on how many people we can onboard in the future. And just like a few screenshots of kind of the way that we're thinking about it, and I know there's a lot of other wallet companies as well, is really just like even things as simple as like an activity feed. If you try to look at the history of the wallet that you have right now in MetaMask or in some other app, it's very, very difficult to read. And I mean reading as like a human and to parse what that information does. And so for us to say, hey, we're going to be a wallet company and we're going to commit to this, that means going the extra mile, decoding transactions, making it clear that you've given some website authorization to manage different collections, things of that nature. Most people don't realize that when you list something on OpenSea, you're giving OpenSea permission to do whatever they want with that collection. And that's how a lot of people really get burned. The other thing is, with any new fledgling technology, you have this game of cat and mouse of people finding exploits until things get super polished. Right now, smart contracts is like, it's terrible for most people. Like, it's so easy to burn people. And so we've worked with great partners like Blowfish to go ahead and simulate transactions so we can mitigate the amount of risk that people take whenever they're actually signing something. They're not doing it blind. And then I think the most important part too is that the progressive disclosure of this information. So for anyone I challenge that's building a new Web3 experience, that's leveraging Web3 in a traditional Web2 world, you don't have to go all in on the wallet and telling people what's going on first. I think the biggest priority needs to be staying outcome oriented. So I think a great example of this is if you look at what Reddit has done with the NFT avatars, there's like 6 million wallets created. People were just buying things that they liked because they were fans of Reddit. It had little to do with the technology. It had little to do with the block. People don't even know what the fuck blockchain they're on. They're just like, hey, I like buying these things. And there happened to be a marketplace behind that. And I think that's quite interesting. And I think that they did it in a way where relatively, whether you look at gaming or you look at traditional sort of like online communities, there's been a lot of backlash to NFT because of the sort of speculative wave that we saw through 2021. But I think a lot of us in here know that that's really just a means to an end, and there's a lot more that we can do with that. And so for me, I think most important part about focusing on where we're going in the future is really to make sure that we nail user outcomes, that we understand that NFTs are a means to an end. They're a medium, they're a platform. We haven't even begun to touch the surface of what they're going to do. And so if we want to lower the barrier to entry, if we want to get more people involved, I think that that has to start at the wallet level. That is the most essential thing that everyone needs to have in order to participate, in order to understand this idea of asset ownership, of asset liquidity, of potential value accrual. And so that's what we're excited about. Again, there's, increasing the education is also a huge, is paramount. I think that we all have a little bit, again, backlash. We're in a bear market. That's all fine. I think some of the best builders in the space are building today. So anyway, thanks for letting me share a little time with you guys. Have a good one.